My name is Karah Morgan. Most of you guys know me. This is my third year here. Third year working with Miss Browning, my lovely teammate, who many of your students might refer to as my best friend, as I basically live and work here, and I love it. This is hopefully just a little bit of an overview, just to get you an idea of what a day in the life of one of your students kind of looks like, the kind of work that you can expect them to do in the classroom, and then hopefully rest some of your worries about at-home projects. Put that, because I know a lot of parents get really worked up and anxious about at-home projects, so hopefully gave you information about that. And then we also want to touch on differentiation, multi-grade. It might be new for some of you have done it before, but there's always questions about, my student is a second grader, how are you going to reach him while you're also teaching third grade? My student might be gifted, my student might really struggle in math, and how are you reaching all these kids at the same time? So I don't want to start from the backward, or from the back, so I'll let Miss Browning introduce herself, and
okay.
We'll talk about
I am Mrs. Browning, and this is my third year here, so I'm so excited to be back. And I know I say this all the time, but I have some kids that I've now had for 3 years, and it is amazing, and I feel so lucky to be able to watch these wonderful, I love my students, kids grow from kindergarten through third grade, so it's amazing. Yeah.
Okay. So just looking at our curriculum, we've got 4 quarters. The theme for the year is exploring like Leonardo. We really wanted to go back to the grassroots of our school, the reason why we were founded, our curriculum base. So we're exploring identity and location like Leonardo. We're exploring origins like Leonardo. We're exploring systems. We're exploring cycles and patterns. And all the SOLs are connected to the themes, and all of them get taught in those big chunks. So it's a nice way to give it meaning, but also make sure that we're hitting all those standards that those kids need to have. Just as a friendly reminder, our website is available. You can get word study words there, updates about projects, the homework for the projects just got put up there, any curriculum, you can find what we're teaching, which quarter, the newsletter, all that information you can definitely find there. And then anything else that you can't find there, feel free to email us, because it's all here. We have it. So.
Yes. And we'll get back to you pretty quickly.
Yeah. Go team. All right. It's your turn.
All right. I get the pleasure of working with your child in language arts and social studies, which we were calling kind of like humanities program. And in this program, we work in reading on fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. We also have literature circles, which I will talk about in just one moment. Word study and analysis, which is all done based on your child, wherever your child is. They get something called a DSA, which shows me the exact breakdown of where it is that they need help, whether it is vowel patterns, whatever beginning sounds, whatever it is. And then the curriculum is tailored right to them, so they are working right where they need to be. And then it can cross over into their reading, and our hopes for word study is that they use and apply those patterns that they're learning in their writing and in their reading. So this is why we're going to now do 2 weeks of the same words, so that we really can dive deep into being able to, I want them to go into other texts and be able to find words with the same pattern with the reading. I want them to, when they're writing, be able to use those patterns in their writing. And I feel like if we give them 2 weeks to do it instead of rushing through it. The word study assessment, I just want to make sure that I know the kids get all, 10 out of 10, I got the challenge, and I'm happy with that. But that number is not what I'm looking at. I'm looking to see, did they get that pattern? And it's not just with that. I'm looking at it when they hand in their writing pieces, and we conference a lot with them during writing. I'm looking to see, did they apply that in their writing? So it's a whole component. It's not just that word study test. So I don't want there to be pressure on the test. And because it's called test, the kids immediately, so that the number, it just is showing that we're still working on the pattern. And that's why I write, just keep practicing on there. As far as writing composition is also part of it. We do a lot of writing in here. They will be learning writing paragraphs, how to write a paragraph where they have a topic sentence, details that support that sentence, and then being able to wrap it up. Now this is not just done through one modality. They need to also be able to persuade, they need to be able to inform, they need to be able to write to perform a task. There are all different ways of writing that they will be learning and working with. Geography and history and social studies, we get to embed. It's amazing how, and being in the world, that subjects aren't separate. You don't just work on, you're planning a trip somewhere, you're doing math, but you're also doing geography, and you're also doing writing and reading and all sorts. It's all connected. And so what we want to do is we want to connect it so that they're just not learning things singularly and memorizing, but they're actually able to make those connections all the way around, because we feel that this way they are learning it, and it's something that's a deeper learning that they would take with them. Over here, I just want to show you, we are starting literature circles this year, and this is a whole write-up on what they are. It's actually, sorry, I'm moving around. What happens is they get, I'm moving them in the direction where they are able to get into kind of like a book club, to where they each have a task, whether they're the summarizer, the researcher, the visualizer, the connector, the character commando, or the author applicator, and it changes. And what they have to do is when they're assigned in guided reading, when they are assigned a chapter, 2 chapters, whatever it is we're working on, whatever book we're working in, they are then going to have an assignment. So they need to go through and they need to find all the connections they can make with the character. They need to find anywhere that the author shows a visualization for the reader. Any research the author had to do, summarizing the text. And those are all right here, so you can see what your kids will be working on and what they need to do. Then they have to come together into their group and they have to lead it. So it also is making them leaders based on whatever role they're in, because they're responsible for having that discussion with the group. So it really is making them more independent, and the goal is to move them towards independent readers. So that's here. And I also have a few other things for parents, helping children develop healthy self-esteem, also motivating your child to succeed in school. We've got read aloud techniques, very, very important, the read aloud techniques. Reading with your child is going to teach them fluency, expression. It's going to show them phrasing so that they're not just word by word, but they're actually following the punctuation, ending at the punctuation. If it's a question, they're asking it in a way where it's a question, looking at the dialogue. So you reading with them is so, so important. And this is just a bunch of techniques, things that you can ask them before, during, and after reading so that they're thinking about their reading, since ultimately what reading is getting meaning from something. So there's that. Also some real reading at home, because that's very important. Let them help you make the grocery list. Let them help you follow directions in order to bake a cake or whatever it is you're doing. Let them address envelopes if you're sending anything, even all sorts of things. Write and discuss news articles. I know a lot of this stuff is electronic now and that's the newspaper, but we still do get the newspaper, and show them that this is a way where we get informational text, so that they can see that the reading is connected to real world and that you're using it all the time. So that's here. And also, last but not least, I just printed out a whole bunch of reading response questions so that you can see questions you can ask while reading with your child, whether your child's reading with you or whether you're reading to them. And again, anything, and it's broken up into whether they have to interpret, whether they're having to connect. We're going to do doing a lot of connecting to text, and looking at two texts and comparing them, looking at how that text relates to the world. So really when you get to second, third grade, you're looking at deeper comprehension. So that is all here, and I think that, oh, and also for gifted, we use the College of William and Mary program. So our friends that need extra, deeper connections, extensions, we also have this program. And did I hit? And yes, so word study we did, they're doing handwriting, and the third graders are so thrilled because now they get to do cursive, and they ask me every single day, is handwriting today? So they're very excited about cursive until they started it and we're like, this really hurts our hands. So we're working our muscles in our hands. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much guided literacy groups. I pulled them based on where they're reading, what is their reading level, what are their needs. They're fluid groups. They will not stay the same all year. So as children need different things, then I will pull them back, and whether it's learning good reader strategies, whether it's learning to make connections, whether it's learning to inference, whatever it is that they need to work on. So we do that in small groups. And then we have centers where they can then practice what they've learned. And I think that is it.
This just gives you her email. It's her first name, then her last name.
Yes, and really email me anytime. Any questions, even if you're using those read aloud strategies at home and you're not quite sure about something, email me and I will get right back to you.
So I've taken over the math and science, and I'm such a geek. I'm so sorry if I get like really smiley, because I love this stuff. Fun fact, I hated math as a kid, and I think that's why I like teaching it so much, because I like finding ways to make it more fun than just, sitting there. So we hit skills, we hit vocabulary, problem solving skills. Oh my gosh, such a big process. Investigation and experimentation. I've got here scientific method and inquiry method. It's a balance between both the traditional way of going through science, it's embedded into our standards of learning, but the inquiry method is like the Da Vinci side of things. It's where you let your questions kind of lead you through that content. STEAM integration. Miss Letter was sitting here, she is our STEAM coordinator, and I've been bugging her all year, and I'm just so excited that we've got such a great collaboration between our math and science program, when the kids are with me, and our STEAM program, and it's been a blast. And then project-based workshop styles. I just talked about you. So I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what it looked like in the day, because we're hitting a lot of stuff. I'm going to do that thing where I switch with you now.
Okay, let's go over here.
So every day, I know binders are new, okay, and I know that, and the kids are really excited. It's funny because some of them are like on it, and then some kids are like, how do we open the rings? So every day we start with a problem solving. They get a problem. It looks like it comes in like this. Sometimes it's a word problem, sometimes it's just a number sentence. And we go through problem solving steps. We do, what is the question asking you? Before we even, because I know the answer, Just tell me, what is it asking you to do? And what do you already know? And then we're gonna go through our steps. Because eventually what happens is you get to those problems where you say, oh, I know, and then you get halfway through and you're like, whoa, this is way off. You asked me to add a couple apples and now I'm talking about spaceships. So it helps them with their tracking and their thinking and making sure that they're staying on. And they keep track of the problems throughout the quarter, and so they can look back and say, wait, I did a problem like this before. Let me flip back, let me find a similar problem. What steps did I take? Let me use that to help me solve. After they do some problem solving and skills, we hit vocabulary every day. I know she was talking about writing. Our kids' hands, they're gonna have the best fine motor skills after this year, because they are writing, and not just in formal ways. I always tell my kids, spelling doesn't count in math and science. Sorry.
No, I do the same thing. I want their thoughts.
But we do.
But we do need to work on.
Yes, those things. So every day, the kids get a set of vocabulary words, which helps guide their understanding through the centers and the projects. They put them in here. They can write it out. Sometimes they might draw it out. I really try to encourage them using those words, though, because a lot of times they'll say it's bigger. And then when you get to a question that says, which of these numbers is greater? They're like, I don't know. I know this is bigger, but I don't know what greater means. And it's silly because you have kids that understand these concepts, but they don't have the vocabulary to use to understand how to apply them. So every day, blue notebooks, that's what we're working on. Let me go ahead and hit this just to make sure I'm hitting everything in that day. Oh, no, that was the right slide, just kidding. Math and science centers. I wanted to give an example of differentiation. I know that's later in the thing, but you did it, so I'm going to do it too. We were working on fact families, okay? And, you know, we've got second graders who are doing addition and subtraction. We've got third graders who are doing multiplication and division. They had to roll a dice, 2 dice, make a fact family using those 2 numbers. Basic level, okay? Draw the dice and create your fact family, okay? Simple. Next level, create your fact triangle, okay? So you're taking those numbers, you're applying them, and then you're adding that third missing number, and then you're doing your fact family. Kids who are handling that, you're now going to roll 2 dice. You're going to create double-digit fact family. Now these are not fact families that they need to memorize, but it gets them starting to compute and do those number problems in their head. You know, if you're rolling dice and you're going through this process, you're going to want to add 13 and 24 in your head as quickly as possible. So they're getting used to doing that fast math and working at a pace that works for them. And then the kids have multiplication and division, okay? And then they roll the 2 dice and they start using those skills. And what's great about this is that the kids become self-aware. So I model orange, yellow, green, blue, and I say, okay, start off on orange. Bring me your orange, check it off. If you want to stay on orange, stay on orange. If you're ready to move on to yellow, move on to yellow. And they go ahead and they go through those steps themselves, and they start identifying where they are. So they're saying, I'm not ready for green. I can do yellow, but I'm not ready for green. And it gives them that awareness of where they are. And that way those gifted learners who need to get into that higher level thinking, even once they finish the blue, if they've mastered that, they'll come to me and say, hey, can I do blue but like with double digits? Or can I do blue but can I start with the top number and a bottom number and find a missing number? And there are ways that they extend that learning. So no matter where they are, they're accessing curriculum and they're hitting skills that they need to work on. Some people are like, yeah, but the kids aren't actually going to do that because no one's actually making them go that high. But the kids, they do it on their own. They go through each of those levels. And they want to do. I mean, that's the great thing about kids. They want to do the stuff. They're excited about it. They're amazed by numbers. Workshop time. And I'm going to incorporate this with project-based because that's basically what we're doing. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's basically other section of the binder. They've got their project sheets. Everything is kind of set up with that open-ended inquiry style. They're given a challenge. They're given background information. They're given a challenge to try to solve. They log all of their information inside this binder. There's a rubric that they have before they even start. So they know what's expected of them. A lot of people ask, how do you grade something like that if they're just creating it? Well, if they have a rubric and they know, okay, my product has to answer these things, they're able to track their own learning. Vitruvian Man, favorite project, well, I would say favorite project, but I also have a lot of favorite projects. Leonardo has the Vitruvian Man, that man who's like standing out like this and, you know, doing all that. And he basically found that there are certain measurements of the human body that correlate to each other. Wingspan is how tall you are. Your foot times 7 is how tall you are. The challenge was, Leonardo came up with all these equalities for a human body. Do they also work for a child? Even though you're not full grown yet, do all of those equalities work? So the kids then started to measure themselves, create their own full body diagrams, compare those measurements, start doing that multiplicative thinking. So we're doing art, we're doing anatomy, we're doing measurement, we're doing writing, because then they had to come up with a conclusion. Do the equalities that Leonardo came up with actually work? And then create a project to explain all of that. The kids just took off with it. It was amazing because the kids who were younger were just amazed at the fact that they could use a ruler. They're like, yes, I got the ruler thing down pat. It was something that was exciting for them. The kids that were a little bit further along were able to take it and say, okay, I took my knee to my foot, I multiplied it by 4, and then I added the distance of my hand. And that got me my height. So they are working with those numbers again at a level that works for them. What Ms. Browning just passed out is one of the projects that we're working on right now called Polymers and Putty. So there's lots of recipes for how to make your own silly putty, how to make your own Play-Doh. Challenge for the kids is come up with your own recipe. Figure out what you can mix together and come up with your own design to try to market to your other students. Try to explain why it's the best putty or dough. This was the kids' first attempt. They already started going back in their journals. Oh, I added too much glue and the flour was a mess. Never doing that again. Tomorrow, Miss Letter is joining us and she's taking them in small groups and they're going to try again. They're going to journal what they did. They're going to figure out what worked, what didn't work. You're going to keep going at this for a couple weeks. At the end of next week, they're going to have a putty to present, and then they're going to be evaluating themselves, seeing if did I meet all the criteria that I need to meet. So that's just a quick look, math and science. I know that
Real
we've got
fast, I want
parents
to just,
outside.
because I want to show our
and-
integration
Yes,
through,
absolutely.
even though that's going on in math and science, we're also connecting it to language arts, where we're reading Bartholomew, thank you, and the oobleck, which actually is a polymer that they create. It's a really fun Dr. Seuss story, so it gets them ready and excited for when they go to do STEAM. So we like to integrate the subject areas all the way through. And I've just passed out a few of the first attempts that they did today.
Yes.
They were very proud. I'm sure a few of you brought.
Thank you guys so much for coming in. Don't forget to email for
Oh,
questions.
wait, I have a few more things. I'm sorry, I always do. I talk way too much. I'm so sorry. Up here, make sure to actually, I'm going to put this over on that table. This is our schedule, so that you can see where, if you see there is a T or a K, that just means Taryn's class or Karah's class is with. So like the first instructional block, I have Karah's class and vice versa. So don't forget to take our schedule. Also, it's also up on the website.